Howdy folks, I'm Colonel Sanders and you're not. Over the period of last year, we've been talking about my family history in Kentucky Fried Chicken. And one thing I have not covered that much about is the pressure cooker. Here and there I talked about some of it, but I didn't know the full history about it. All I knew from growing up is the word Henny Penny. We started a Discord server geared around fried chicken, have over 100 members in it from TikTok on there, and we have 2 channels on there right now dedicated to research. We have the recipe research, which we figured out everything we possibly can in the public domain of the recipe, and we figured out, or we're figuring out the history on Colonel Sanders pressure cookers, the research of that, which is what this channel is about here. That's what we're doing. I haven't covered much about it. I just knew about Henny Penny's name, pressure cooker name. I knew Uncle Harley, with his original pressure cooker, drilled a hole in the lid to modify it originally so he could fry chicken in it. I'm not sure what all he did to it other than this particular drawing for the patent of the final product, which, by the way, today's are different, and I didn't even know this was on this. Had no idea. Winston Food Services, that this was here. Your source for KFC approved Winston Food Services. Winston Industries and KFC. Winston Industries. History of KFC began in 1967. Our founder, Winston Shelton, was part owner of Engineering Prototype Services. He did engineering work there while working full-time as a development engineer for General Electric. His company was hired by KFC to make temperature measurements on chicken being fried in their home canners, known as pots. As he worked on the KFC project, Winston became intrigued by the problems faced by KFC in their kitchen. Subsequently, sorry, can't pronounce that right, he soon had an opportunity to meet Colonel Harlan Sanders, who is Uncle Harley. Winston's company was working on the pressure fryer for Miles Filter Products. Carl Mize brought the Colonel to a small shop to see it. This is what pretty much looks like today. Here's the question that I'm having now. Now, I got this photo of him, of Uncle Harley. I've shown it before, of him standing in front of the pressure cooker with the one in his hand. That was the original one there in his hand. What I don't know much about this. This is 1967, and I know that he was doing the pressure cooker idea before Kentucky Fried Chicken, and it wasn't until 1966 that he got the patent on the design. Let's go back to here and see whose patent name is on that. So, 1964, he filed for a patent on this. 1966, he got the patent on it. And he was frying with pressure cookers before... Why doesn't this open? Here we go. A little bit more, maybe. Nope. Anyways, he was frying with pressure cookers before this. So, my story that I got was that he was working in the Sanders Cafe, and the chicken didn't cook fast enough for the travelers going through, so he revolutionized it by inventing a way of frying chicken in the pressure cooker. He modified the pressure cooker to fry the chicken. And when he filed for the patent office wanted to know if it was using steam to fry, because they never heard of frying chicken under pressure. And what it did, frying the chicken under pressure, it kept all the juices locked down towards the bone. It kept all the flavor inside the chicken. And it was originally fried in lard. And from that pressure, it also pushed away the fat away from the chicken. So at the time of them making it, there was the least absorption in chicken, in Kentucky Fried Chicken's chicken, than any other competitor around the country that was also competing in this industry. So I'm still learning more about this. This looks like the newer ones, maybe not exactly the new ones. I don't know what it looks like in the kitchen today, but this looks like the different ones than what this here is. I'm learning about the pressure cooker. I didn't know much about it. Everyone automatically assumes that I know everything that there is about Kentucky Fried Chicken, that I know everything. And the answer is no. I wasn't alive during any of this stuff when it was going on, when it was being invented and made. I have information from family that was there, and I have information from things like this and other historical things that transpired over the years to be able to have documentation for me to read. And from reading those, there's little holes in the stories, and there's holes in my family stories, and putting those together fills in those holes, and I get one whole story together. So, I have mentioned the pressure cooker in the past, and I have talked about the pressure cooker in the past. What I don't know, and maybe somebody here does, were these guys the first guys? Because this says 1967 is when this started. Winston was involved in 1967. The patent was completed and granted in 1966. The patent was filed in 1964. That was Uncle Harley's patent. And according to others and things I read online, I believe patents expire after 15 to 17 years, depending on what it is, I think. And then it becomes public, like the public, some other restaurant, some other business can start making the same thing. So he got involved in 67 with Winston. The pressure cooker that he originally used, he modified and made himself. I don't know what brand the cooker itself was, but he made the concept of it, made it work to show and demonstrate how it would work, and then he hired somebody to make them for him. I don't know if that was Winston. I don't know if that was Henny Penny. I don't know yet. And eventually I will know. But with what my grandpa has told me, is he made his first one. He modified his first one, made it successfully, and then sold that idea. Not like sold it like, here you go, here's the rights to it. He just sold the idea to people and was able to have them be created. So once again, we read this thing about Winston's began with 1967 with KFC, engineering prototype services. He did engineering work while working full-time as a development engineer for General Electric. His company was hired by KFC to make temperature measurements on the chicken being fried in their home canners, known as pots. So that's after Uncle Harley sold out. As he listened to the Colonel, Winston gained an understanding of the needs of KFC franchisees and to the challenges that are characteristic of the fast food industry. Above all, it was critically important to produce consistent, high-quality fried chicken safely using part-time employees who had minimal training. Importantly, a well-designed pressure fryer must allow servicing by store personnel rather than be dependent upon a service network. The big expense of the cooker. The official KFC cooker at that time was a KFC 20-head cooker, a huge machine that cost $16,000. While it could produce large quantities of chicken, it cooked inconsistently. Further, the pots required excessive handling and hot shortening. The general consensus at that time was that mechanical filtering was necessary. However, Winston thought a sedimentation type gravity filter would do the job without filter paper or filter aids, even while cooking. I can't pronounce the word, I apologize. He began designing a fryer that addressed the need for more consistent quality and less frequent filtering. The collector-based fryer was soon in the prototype stage. A momentary crisis. Late in development of the new fryer, a crisis occurred. A bank employee stole funds from the new company. I didn't know that. The bank, thinking Winston was part of the scam, called his company's loan. Facing the demise of his fledgling company, he decided to ask Colonel Sanders for support. As I told the Colonel of my plight, he drew back after looking into a prototype of empty collector at the bottom of the fryer examined. My God, Winston, you've really got something here. I asked him later to elaborate on his appreciation for what he saw. He said, I could just see this fryer in my stores, cooking chicken round after round without having to handle shortening. Don't you see? And the crackling catcher is going to allow us to make the finest gravy in the world. I can't pronounce that word, I'm sorry. I said it before, I can't say it now. He met with the bank, told them the soundness of the fryer, signed my note for $50,000, and encouraged the bank to help me get the fledgling electromatic pressure fryer idea into production. So what I am gathering from this is Uncle Harley developed his first pressure cooker. He did. Right out of the gate. Made his own pressure cooker. Sold the idea, but it had problems with it. And he needed a solution for it. Now his design, the patent that we showed before that I wasn't sure who started it, like where it came from, whatever. His design had a flaw to it, and this was the solution. After months of testing, KFC Canada approved the Collectromatic fryer and began replacing all the pots in their nearly 600 outlets. Meanwhile, in the US, the Collectromatic fryers met stiff opposition. Consequently, at the Colonel's encouragement, many of the US KFC franchisees were already buying Collectromatic fryers. Moreover, their numbers grew so rapidly that KFC approval process had little meaning. Other manufacturers also circumvented the approval process and sold their products directly to KFC franchisees, creating a substantial problem for KFC. The Gentleman's Agreement. Dick Beeson, KFC president. And see, Lee has left already. And this is what? What year is this? I don't know what year this is. Because I believe I read that John Wayne Brown Jr. assumed presidency of Kentucky Fried Chicken after Lee left. And I believe the Colonel's grandson assumed vice presidency. I believe I read. And Winston reached a gentleman's agreement that Dick would approve the Collectromatic fryer on the basis of its equivalency. And I criticize people for not saying or spelling Colonel right. To the pots as established by a KFC conducted taste test. After the test, Dick confirmed the test established taste equivalency, but said he wasn't going to approve the Collectromatic fryer, but he didn't elaborate. Later at a regional franchisee meeting, L.S. Hartzog, Hart Biscuit Company, told the Colonel and Winston that KFC couldn't approve the Collectromatic fryer because of a contact he had with John Y. Brown. L.S. explained that his company had developed 20-head cookers, that the contract selling its design to KFC stipulated that KFC would pay Hartzog $300 for any other automatic fryer sold to KFC franchisees. By this time, Collectromatic fryer had already sold thousands of fryers into the KFC system, producing substantial tension between LS and John Y. The stress mounted as the franchisees continued buying the fryers at a dizzying pace. That's Uncle Harley, Aunt Claudia, that's this guy Winston. Don't know who these guys are, but that might be Dick Miller, I'm not sure. Or that could be someone else, I don't know. That's Norman Rockwell. Later, Hubline acquired Kentucky Fried Chicken, 1971. Barry Rolls, Hubline VP KFC president, by the way, you suck, told Winston that he was buying Hart Biscuit Company and expecting to buy the Big Cooker contract. Once that was done, Barry orchestrated the approval of the Collectromatic fryer. Over the next 3 decades, as KFC grew into a global powerhouse of over 26,000 Collectromatic fryers were sold into its system. Collectromatic Inc. also grew. To better reflect its expanded product line, Collectromatic Inc. was renamed Winston Industries in 1984. That's after the Colonel died. Also, a year after KFC sued Mary and Kate Spices, it continues to research better ways to cook and hold food. And it still holds true to the principles inspired by the Colonel that hard work and integrity aren't the easy way to do business, but they are the right way. I love this. So, great history. The reason why I said Hubline sucks, because these guys, Hubline, decided to sue they decided to sue Uncle Harley himself. Hubline or Hubline, however you want to say it, sued the Colonel for using his name on the restaurant The Colonel's Lady. Sued him for using his spices in there. And they settled on $1 million or $2 million because he filed a countersuit against them for misuse of his name and image, changing his quality, and changing his recipe. And alcohol. I'm not entirely sure, but you could read about that here. I don't really care about this company. I just know their name is important to the history of KFC, but they suck, okay? Y'all suck. You sued the Colonel for using his name, and then you got your handed to you. This is a great history right here. This is a great history about what the cookers are today and how they became. So they started off as just the one Uncle Harley had. He developed it into this thing. They had a previous agreement with all the other restaurants. When Kentucky Fried Chicken took over, they'd be selling them to the different franchisees. When Governor John Y. Brown Jr. took over Kentucky Fried Chicken in '64, he had these agreements. The Uncle Harley had his own cookers that he sold to, or leased to his franchisees. And then when John Y. Brown Jr. got a hold of it, he decided we needed to have this more official. And things started becoming less of a gentleman's agreement unless Uncle Harley was involved in it. But officially, you saw down there, they got into some trouble with not having them approved because John Y. Brown Jr. already had a agreement. And you could see that. Where was that? It was here somewhere that they had to pay $300 for every cooker sold to someone else. And if you notice, they were talking up here about the gravy. The gravy. What a great thing that would be, that the cracklings at the bottom that were collected by the collectromatic, sorry. They'll be able to make the best gravy. That's how you make good gravy. He knew how to make good gravy. They don't do it like that anymore today. It's a powder thing. I mean, they do it like that, but you get it as a powder. Those of you who work and eat it, it comes in a powder form. They dehydrate it, and then you mix that with water. But that's the history that we have for today on the pressure cookers. I'm going to do some more research, figure out more of the history prior to '67, prior to '66, and prior to '64, so I can learn more about those. I want to know more about them. So, there you guys go. This is a KFC approved Winston food service product. This tells me that Winston is still who supplies KFC. People said they were probably made by Henny Penny today. I recognize Henny Penny because my grandfather talked about Henny Penny while growing up, talked about this stuff. So I don't know if the brand originally was Henny Penny, if that's where he got it from, modified it to his own. I don't know if Henny Penny is an off-brand of this, basically, that started making them after. I don't know. But this video talks about KFC's current pressure cookers and how they got developed into what they were. And if you want to join the Discord and learn about this, we'll learn more as we do some more things here. I'll be adding it to this channel. But we have the patent blueprint of it. We have Uncle Harley cooking with them. We have the picture here next to the Winston one. Excellent history. All right. Well, thank you for watching, folks.